Every time I post a video or discuss narcissism, there's always a familiar question that pops up in the comments. Wait, could I be a narcissist? It's a question that many people find themselves asking, often after watching or listening to a conversation about narcissistic behavior. So today, we're diving into that very question: could you be a narcissist? What exactly are the traits that define narcissism, and how can you tell if you're dealing with narcissistic tendencies yourself? Whether you're new here or a regular follower, I'd love for you to join the conversation. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you find this discussion valuable. Throughout this video, my hope is that you walk away with not only a deeper understanding of narcissism, but also practical tips that you can apply right away. It's crucial to understand that narcissism, in its clinical sense, is actually diagnosed as Narcissistic Personality Disorder (NPD). If you're curious about the specific criteria for this diagnosis, I have an older video I'll link below, where I walk through the full list of diagnostic features. However, it's important to note that not everyone who shows narcissistic traits has the disorder. Just like how someone might experience symptoms of anxiety without meeting the full criteria for generalized anxiety disorder, it's entirely possible to exhibit certain narcissistic behaviors without having NPD. We all can display traits of narcissism from time to time, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're dealing with the full-blown condition. The key difference lies in the intensity and consistency of those traits and how much they affect your relationships and daily life. So, are you wondering if you might be struggling with narcissistic traits? Let's break it down together and explore what those signs could look like in real life. By the end of this video, you'll have a clearer idea of what narcissism really is and whether it's something you need to be concerned about in your own life. Today, I want to guide you through some of the most common traits of narcissism so you can better understand if any of these behaviors resonate with what you're currently experiencing, or perhaps what someone close to you may be going through. However, it's crucial to remember that this video is not a tool for self-diagnosis. If you identify with any of these traits, it's important to seek the guidance of a professional. A proper diagnosis from a trained expert is essential, as they can offer you the most accurate understanding and appropriate treatment. Please don't treat this video as a substitute for expert advice. Your mental health deserves the best care possible. One of the most defining traits of a narcissist is a sense of superiority. They tend to believe that they are inherently better than everyone around them, as if they have some special quality that sets them apart from the rest of society. This can manifest in many ways, including their belief that their actions, ideas, and even their opinions are superior. For example, if you suggest a simple change to something in their environment, like the color of a wall in their home, they might react with intense defensiveness or outright hostility. It's not just about disagreeing, it's about a deep-rooted need to maintain their facade of being above others. In these situations, the narcissist may resort to extreme measures to protect their inflated sense of self-worth. They could attack your character, spread negative rumors about you, or tell others how terrible you are, anything to discredit you and silence your input. Sometimes their reaction will go beyond mere words and escalate to moments of intense rage. The goal is clear: to keep their illusion of superiority intact at all costs, regardless of the emotional toll it may take on you. This behavior isn't just frustrating, it can also be emotionally exhausting and confusing, especially when you're on the receiving end of their hurtful words and actions. Narcissism is often masked by a complex web of traits, all of which serve to protect the fragile ego beneath. One of the most striking characteristics is a deep-rooted sense of entitlement. Narcissists believe they are deserving of respect, admiration, and privileges regardless of whether they have earned them. In their eyes, they are always right, and this perception extends to believing they are owed apologies for any wrongdoings, real or imagined. Their sense of entitlement can be far-reaching, manifesting in unreasonable demands, whether it's a promotion at work, preferential treatment, or even the audacity to claim your seat on an airplane. This pervasive sense of entitlement often remains with them throughout their lives, never diminishing, always demanding more. Alongside entitlement, there's a desperate need for attention that constantly churns within the narcissist's psyche. Special events, weddings, birthdays, or any moments of personal achievement for others become battlegrounds for their ego. These events, which should be about the happiness of others, become opportunities for the narcissist to reclaim the spotlight. If they don't get the attention they crave, they will resort to any means necessary to refocus the event on themselves. This could involve creating unnecessary drama, belittling the person who should be the center of attention, or even starting a fight to shift the narrative in their favor. However, attention alone is never enough. Narcissists are driven by an overwhelming need for control, not just in social situations but in all aspects of life. This drive is closely tied to their fragile self-image, which they go to great lengths to protect. Without absolute control, the carefully constructed facade of superiority crumbles. To maintain this illusion of perfection, they resort to manipulation. Gaslighting becomes a common tool, where they make you question your own perceptions, rewriting reality to fit their narrative that's not what happened. If this doesn't work, they might escalate by deploying what's known as flying monkeys, people who, often unwittingly, assist the narcissist in their agenda. These individuals support the narcissist's smear campaigns, helping to shame and blame others, all in service of preserving the narcissist's fabricated image. At the core of these traits lies an intense fragility, one that is often rooted in past trauma. To shield themselves from the pain of their vulnerabilities, narcissists construct a facade of unshakable strength. This emotional armor is necessary because, deep down, they fear being exposed for the fragile, insecure individuals they truly are. When their control is threatened, when things don't go their way, their world begins to unravel. In these moments, the narcissist's terror of being seen for who they truly are drives them to even greater extremes. They manipulate, deceive, and control others, all in a desperate attempt to maintain the illusion that they are untouchable, unaffected by the chaos they so often create. Ultimately, these traits form a tangled web that leaves those around them confused, manipulated, and emotionally drained. The narcissist's need for control, attention, and entitlement is a never-ending cycle that consumes both their lives and the lives of those they interact with. Behind the facade of superiority lies a fragile, terrified individual constantly trying to convince the world and themselves that they are more than they truly feel they are. One of the most striking characteristics of a narcissist is their complete disregard for boundaries. This lack of respect for personal space is not only an issue in romantic relationships, but it's particularly evident in parent-child dynamics. Narcissistic parents, for instance, often view their children not as independent individuals, but as mere extensions of themselves. This leads to a constant overreach into every aspect of the child's life, from celebrating their successes as if they were their own to punishing them for not living up to the parent's rigid expectations. When someone attempts to set healthy boundaries with a narcissist, it's rarely respected. In fact, they may react with hostility, or, even more disturbingly, pretend that the conversation about boundaries never took place at all. The narcissist's need to control everything around them makes it almost impossible for them to understand that others need space to grow and live freely. Another unmistakable trait of narcissism is their inability to take responsibility for anything, especially their mistakes. A narcissist will rarely, if ever, offer a genuine apology. Instead, they are masters of deflection, constantly searching for scapegoats and ways to shift blame onto others. Acknowledging their flaws would expose the cracks in their meticulously crafted self-image, and that's something they will go to great lengths to avoid. Their pride and fear of vulnerability prevent them from ever admitting fault or showing any true remorse. In their eyes, it's always someone else's fault, never theirs. Perhaps one of the hardest traits for people to grasp is a narcissist's complete lack of empathy. For most individuals, empathy is a natural instinct, feeling for others in their moments of pain or joy. If you saw someone stumble and fall, you would instinctively want to help them up, offering comfort or assistance. But for a narcissist, this is an alien concept. They are incapable of understanding or caring about other people's emotions. Instead, they are locked into their own narrow worldview, where they expect everyone else to think and feel exactly as they do. If others fail to meet these expectations, the narcissist's reaction is swift and harsh, usually anger or disdain. This emotional disconnect makes it incredibly difficult for those around them to establish any real connection. Finally, a hallmark of narcissistic behavior is the tendency to engage in splitting. This psychological defense mechanism causes narcissists to view people in extremes, either as all good or all bad. There is no room for nuance or middle ground in their perception of others. If someone does something that even remotely upsets them, the narcissist will quickly label that person as the worst and discard them without a second thought. On the other hand, new individuals entering their life may be placed on a pedestal, idealized as perfect and flawless. This black and white thinking not only distorts their view of reality, but also creates a cycle of emotional highs and lows for everyone involved. One minute, you're being adored, the next, you're being vilified. It's a manipulative and emotionally exhausting pattern that keeps those around the narcissist on edge. In all, the traits of a narcissist: lack of boundaries, refusal to take responsibility, absence of empathy, and splitting form a toxic web that makes relationships with them incredibly challenging. Their distorted perception of themselves and others leads to a constant cycle of emotional manipulation and control. Understanding these behaviors is the first step in protecting yourself from their harmful influence. If you've ever caught yourself wondering, "Am I a narcissist?" or questioned whether someone close to you exhibits narcissistic traits, you're not alone. It's a valid concern that many of us ponder, and while it's natural to self-reflect, understanding narcissism requires more than just a passing thought. To help shed some light on this, here are a few questions that can guide you toward a clearer understanding. First, think about how you react to the idea of being a narcissist. Does the mere thought of it make you feel bad for those around you? Do you find yourself genuinely concerned about how others feel? If you were to accidentally upset someone, would it bother you deeply? And when emotions are involved, are you quick to offer an apology if you've hurt someone's feelings? Additionally, does being the center of attention make you uncomfortable, perhaps even anxious? If your answer to any of these questions is yes, it's a strong indication that you're likely not a narcissist. These are qualities associated with empathy: the ability to genuinely care about others' emotions, recognize when you've caused pain, and even feel discomfort when attention is focused on you. Narcissists, on the other hand, often lack these very traits, showing little to no concern for how others feel and never feeling uneasy under the spotlight. But if you're still unsure, don't worry, there are more questions to consider. Reflect on your relationships and how you view others. Do you often see your friends, children, or loved ones as extensions of yourself, expecting them to represent your life in a certain way? Do you find yourself believing that most people aren't worthy of your time or company? When conflicts arise, do you struggle to apologize or find yourself believing that any disagreement is always someone else's fault? And perhaps most telling, do you find it challenging to put yourself in someone else's shoes, to understand their perspective or imagine how they might feel in a given situation? If you've answered yes to any of these, it's possible that you may have some narcissistic tendencies. It's important to remember, though, that this doesn't necessarily mean you are a full-blown narcissist. Many people exhibit some narcissistic traits from time to time without fully embodying narcissistic personality disorder. But if you're concerned, seeking professional advice can give you a clearer perspective. In fact, the very fact that you're questioning whether you might be a narcissist is often a sign that you're not. People with true narcissistic traits tend to show little concern for others, have difficulty empathizing, and wouldn't spend much time reflecting on whether they might be a narcissist. Instead, they would likely project blame onto others, dismissing any suggestion that they might have such tendencies. This is the key distinction: narcissists rarely doubt themselves in this way. So, if you've ever worried about being a narcissist, the chances are that you're not. Remember, self-awareness is an important trait that most narcissists lack, and it's this very self-awareness that shows you're on the path to emotional health. Embrace your empathy, continue caring about others' feelings, and don't let fear of being labeled overshadow your genuine concern for the people around you. I hope this video has helped clarify some of your concerns and offered a bit of reassurance. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.